think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does. When conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it. Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Penises in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath, insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh. 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say shit. Math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say shit. I mean, you can, but it doesn't make it true because you're not Harry Potter.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
I always say this, you cannot ever deny success. You just have to give your respect, even if it's not your thing. Don't have the humility to give it up for enormous success on any level.
I agree.
Trump, not my choice, didn't vote for him, but somehow,
a lot of people did.
And he's... I can't deny the success.
I can't either.
Yeah.
And he's the president.
And he's the president. Okay, and people started to gather around him and they were chanting, you're the Hitler of our time. Okay, first of all, assholes, he's not Hitler. Okay, an insult to everybody in the Holocaust to begin with. Second of all, calling somebody Hitler makes it a lot easier to justify things like assassination. Let's put a shitload of that away, shall we? And also, no, I'm not. I'm not saying he's popular. You know, he went out to dinner there in Washington, D.C. The kitchen had to send out for more spit. But he's not Hitler. And then, to add to his bad week, the House Oversight Committee, they released a redacted copy of Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book. He had a 50th birthday party. You know, people put together a book where people write in, and a lot of people wrote in this book. Bill Clinton's in there, Dershowitz, a lot of world leaders, a lot of titans of industry. I am not in the book. I did give a blurb for the cover, but that's... But there's an alleged letter from Trump. Alleged, he denies it. I want to be very clear.
Alleged. Bill not trying to get sued.
Because they're very litigious. I got one going. I can't do any more. but no, completely alleged that Trump.
What did he say? I got one going. I can't get it. I can't get any more. He is not trying to get sued. Oh, Bill.
Wrote in the book. I don't know. It is entirely possible that Jeffrey Epstein had two close friends named Donald Trump. Absolutely. We don't know. He denies it. But, you know, they asked Trump about it this week, and he said it's a dead issue. And he keeps saying this, and, you know, he keeps wanting this to be a dead issue, and it keeps not being a dead issue. Something keeps coming up about the Epstein thing. I'm not saying he's looking for a distraction from this, but if you're a Venezuelan, I wouldn't go boating this weekend. That's all I'm going to
I tell you, sometimes, y'all, we just got to laugh, man. You know, and there's a reason I'm showing these clips. And again, once again, the one and only Bill Maher has gone viral. He's broke the internet, you know, and his recent take, and even had, you know, Nancy Mason, many others on the show. Bill is honestly, I mean, even people are saying Bill Maher starts to sound like a Republican. You know, the Democrats are too far left. Oh boy, you know. And he said, you know, he's really been going viral, especially after the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Just the fight I am been having with the left, while I'm, of course, the irony, as a lot of people in my position, is still a liberal, just a traditional liberal, won't go along with their, like a lot of the stuff that's just crazy out there too far, which gets Trump elected, blah, blah, blah. As I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Took me a second. Sorry, I had to absorb that.
Okay. You know, they're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, like, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. You know, the right-wingers, say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think. The left really has much more of a, I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you.
Yeah.
Well, that attitude, and like all the right-wingers, they don't have that attitude. Now, again, I didn't vote for them. And Charlie Kirk and I certainly don't agree on much politically, but he sat here, he's a human being, he's not a monster.
And a husband and a father.
Yes, and I liked him. I liked them all. They're all nice people when you meet them in person, and they're not as crazy as they would, nobody's as crazy as they make them out to be.
You know? But we see somebody get up live on television on the fake news media on MSNBC a couple of hours ago and call one of you know, Trump's advisors, one of Trump's, you know, cabinet members, a Nazi, to call Trump supporters Nazis, fascists, racists. You know. I say you just can't make it up.
Seriously, this is a serious problem for Democrats. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed? Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual. Because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country is. Although don't get Tucker Carlson started on Russia. Globalize the intifada is the catchphrase that's really catching on these days, as if worldwide suicide bombing and cosplaying Islamic revolutionaries is the answer to our problems. At an AOC Bernie Sanders rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, this is not a symbol of freedom. This is.
And they showed the American flag when he said that.
Just If the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great, the Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party. Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children. The Democrats' problem is the energy of the party is with the young and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them you don't really want to live like your heroes in Hamas. All the shit you do all day, it was all made in America. Your smartphone, your Grubhub, your freedom to bitch about America, that's all American stuff. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your house. Please, you couldn't survive a week living in Intifadaville.
Oh boy. And that brings us to this, man. It says Bill Maher just snapped.
Exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, slowly but surely, Bill Maher is changing. It seems like he's reaching his breaking point on so many issues, the guy is snapping. And sure, you know, on surface, he'll still claim, oh, I'm a Democrat. He aligns with the left, right? And I'm sure he does. It's hard for these legacy classical style liberals to drop their identity in what they've been doing for decades, but deep down inside, I think it's fairly obvious Bill Maher knows that we're not the evil, deplorable fascists. No, we have been right on so many issues. And it seems he's now just finding the confidence to actually frickin' say it. And you could tell it's been a slow process, you know, he started off with some of the easier stuff like the woke nonsense, the gender stuff, but now it seems Bill Maher's taking it to a whole other level. He's finally admitting what we've been saying for years, that mass migration is destroying Western nations. No more of this la-di-da utopia nonsense, this Nancy Pelosi's favorite quote, diversity is our strength. No, this mass migration scam that's been thrusted upon us by these globalist Davos elite. It's been a social experiment where we're the guinea pigs, and the result has been utter disaster. No other way to describe it, and now it seems even Bill Maher agrees with us. I gotta tell you, I never expected making this video. Bill Maher is taking it to a whole other level. Alright folks, so just take a look at, again, the slow but sure red pilling of Bill Maher. He hasn't crossed the line yet, but he's basically surrendered on almost every single issue.
Sweden opened its borders to over 1.5 million immigrants since 2010, and now 20% of its citizens are foreign-born, and its education system is tanking, and it has Europe's highest rate of gangland killings. And one result is that the far-right parties are in the government now there for the first time. To which liberals say blaming immigrants for the rising crime rate is racist. Yeah, but is it true? Of course it's true. It's not a coincidence the quality of life went down after the Somali gangs started a drug turf war using hand grenades. Calling it racist doesn't solve the problem. It hands future elections to someone who will solve the problem.
And I gotta tell you, that is a significant change. Don't forget, Bill Maher's the guy who last said this.
But in 1984, I remember walking around London like it was all white. It was all white.
But you go outside of London now, but now it's totally changed.
It went from, I read this in Andrew Sullivan's column, it went from, in 50 years, it went from 86% white to 36% white. Now, this is not a complaint. See, if we were conservatives, this would be like a lament. Great.
It's a fact.
It's a fact, and it's a happy fact.
And if you can't discuss it.
Just don't tell me we're living in a year we're not living in. We're living in the year when London is mostly people of color.
Yes, it is.
And I'm applauding it.
Yep.
Happy for you. Happy for it.
Okay.
But let's live in the year we're living in.
You go to Windsor Castle, okay? And the town, of course, is called Windsor. And it used to be, when I was a kid, all English tea shops with china, and everybody used to go there for afternoon tea. And you'd go to Windsor Park and watch some polo. And now you go around there, there's no more tea shops.
Right.
None of that.
Right.
It's Arabic restaurants.
Right.
It's Jamaican restaurants. It's Chinese. It
Right.
is a complete and utter melting pot. And it's great.
And it's great.
It's great.
He went from basically endorsing the Great Replacement theory to now it seems ringing the alarm bell. And Sweden's his case study. Sweden now has the highest rate of gang shootings in all of Europe. They got Somali gangs using grenades in their gang battles, Syrian criminal networks running human trafficking rings, turf wars happening in all kinds of different no-go zones in the country. And 20 years ago, Sweden was a freaking paradise. Crime was almost non-existent. Certainly not brazen, broad daylight gang warfare and shootings. And well, what has changed in the last 20 years? I can't put my finger on it. Obviously, this mass migration scam. And we've been warning, we've been saying, slow down, slow down. This is a disaster. Eventually, the pendulum's going to swing. And now leftists are shocked. They're shocked that all of a sudden right-wing parties across the Western world are starting to rise up. Well, it's exactly like Bill Maher said. Ignore the reality long enough and you end up handing your country over to the populist right. And that's what's happening across the board. Because good governance has to be based in reality, not this globalist, naive utopia fairy tale. Multiculturalism this and multiculturalism that. It's innately good, inherently good. You know, maybe a little bit of it can be good if it's done right, but mass migration, mass forced multiculturalism on an industrial scale with no actual process of assimilation, that is obviously a recipe for disaster. And clearly in this case, it has failed spectacularly. And as much as the left wants to deny it, the reality is sentiment has shifted entirely to the extent where Bill Maher is doing these kinds of monologues. And you also got some mainstream media polling showing numbers like this. This is a viral video from a couple years ago.
You have been voting in the text and online vote today. So here is the result. Is multiculturalism working? Here is what you told us. 5% of those of you who voted said yes, it is. 95% of those of you who voted this morning said no, it isn't.
95% of those polled in that European poll say that multiculturalism has been a disaster. What's the argument now? That 95% of those people who all feel the same way, they're all just a bunch of racists? No, of course not. It's people finally telling the truth. The globalist immigration agenda has failed. And while I know there's a lot of self-loathing, self-hating people who would love to see nothing more than the West burning down to the ground, the erasure of their culture, this embrace of what's known as a post-national state, they are a fringe minority. Most people want to preserve the culture that defines them, their families, what their ancestors fought literal wars to defend and protect. And the truth is, a lot of people I think are starting to realize that no country, no culture, especially not the thriving good cultures that our forefathers and ancestors have built, can survive without unity. You need shared values, shared identity, a basic set of rules that everybody, or at least most people, respect. And in the West, we used to have that. And I think it was even preserved with low levels of immigration that were controlled. People came in and really embraced the American way of life. They learned English. They became patriotic. They believed in Western law and hard work, free speech, the Constitution. But now this mass migration scam has flooded so many Western nations with groups from incompatible cultures who seem to have no interest in assimilation, and there seems to be no political will to assimilate them in the first place. And so what do? You get the fragmentation of society. You get ghettos. You get subversive groups moving into Western nations with a political agenda. You know, certain groups that want to conquer us rather than assimilate. You get clan loyalties, essentially, tribal enclaves, parallel societies, balkanization. And once that happens, well, things start to deteriorate quite quickly. And don't be so naive to think that we're special, that we're different. You know, sure, Rome fell, but we're above all that. It could never happen to us. No, it could certainly happen to us, especially if we lose track of what made Western civilization in the first place. It's time to start ignoring reality, and it's time to start protecting what is clearly worth protecting and preserving. And that is not racist. That doesn't make you a white nationalist. That makes you an American or a European, a Canadian, an Australian. That makes you a patriot. Everybody around the world is allowed to be a patriot except for us in the Western world. That right there is a subversive thought. That is a demoralization virus that should never be accepted. There is something worth preserving here. An unfettered mass migration is the biggest threat to everything we hold near and dear. Again, not racism, basic common sense, basic patriotism. And it's not about skin color, it's about culture. Anyways, that's pretty
much. Oh boy, oh boy. The truth will set you free. Make you free.